choosing what we want. We have now seen that we live in the one mind which thinks what it wants and puts forth into expression what it thinks. The substance of the universe is intelligence or life on the invisible side, and the various forms are ideas. On the visible side of nature, substance and form are vibration or energy, but ideas are expressed in the form of thought, and thought is also energy, so that the visible universe is God's thought. We found too that being thinks definite thoughts or chooses what it wants. In this way, it acts in a personal capacity. Then, its creative activity comes into play and makes what it chooses come forth into form. In this way, it acts impersonally. Being cannot be impersonal, but it can act impersonally. By the courtesy of words, we may often speak of being or mind as impersonal, as referring to its impersonal activity. Yet, we shall lose the very sweetness of life if we do not recognize this fact. As personal spirit, God loves, feels, wills, using the terms in the philosophical sense. God does not love, feel, or will always exactly in the human way, except through the individual. As the absolute person, he cannot love, feel, or will in any way that would deny his absoluteness or wholeness of vision. As in personal law, he creates whatever idea is selected either by him or another for creation. If we will liken the divine creative mind in its impersonal capacity to the soil, we shall have a good picture of the way the impersonal mind works for us. In fact, the soil is the universal creative mind in one of its aspects, for it is the impersonal mind's functioning in vibration. Now we all know that the soil has no personal will or purpose of its own. It is entirely impersonal or neutral. It does not care whether God scatters the seed as he may have done at the beginning of the visible creation, or whether the tree scatters it, or you or I. It will take your seed as quickly as it will take mine. Again, it does not care whether the seed given to it is one kind or another. It does not, as impersonal mind, care what seed is given it. It takes all seeds into its bosom with equal love and care, and begin to grow each thing after its kind. That which we call our subjective mind is one with the universal impersonal mind, so that whatever seed of thought or idea we scatter in our mind will take root there and grow impersonally. Whatever thought is most strongly impressed upon this mind will take the deepest root. That is why some people are never sick. No thought of sickness has ever deeply impressed itself upon their mind, and so the creative activity within has gone on normally, continuously building a healthy body. There is only a sense of well-being, and spirit accordingly passes through into manifestation in perfect expression. It is a hard saying, but true, that we only have to feel well to be well. Accordingly, every effort must be made to bring the feeling life to the point of quietness and ease, that the perfect work of healing may go on, since the feeling life and the creative are one. Whatever is true of the individual impersonal mind in the way of choice is also true of the universal. For as there is in reality no point of demarcation between the being which man is and the being which spirit is, so there is no point at which the inner mind fails to contact the mind of the infinite. Both minds act alike, They produce according to the kind and strength of the thought or idea impressed upon them. On one point, however, we should exercise care. We should never suppose that being will act in any way contrary to the law of its own nature. For example, no amount of suggestion from us will ever cause it to make water run uphill, or repeal the law of attraction of gravitation, or set the sun back half an hour. Having once chosen a way of acting, this way is its law, and being goes on to create in accordance with it. Yet, this need never interfere with our hopes and plans, for there is room for everything we can desire within the scope of the law, and each one of these laws can be made our servant. Conforming ourselves to the law, we can harness the water, we can depend upon the stability of things that come through the attraction of the earth, and we can employ the rays of the sun to grow our gardens and to light our path. And each law is thus transcended by adapting ourselves to it, as in the case of flying, for example. Nor is it inconceivable that man shall learn how to avoid the pull of attraction through higher knowledge. We may yet fly without anything more than a good pair of closet wings, and a new Ford may rise to speed us over the pathway of the skies. But with this warning and encouragement, let us see how we may legitimately hope to employ the impersonal forces of the one and the only mind in which we find ourselves. Through recognition of this unity, we may not only demonstrate over physical conditions of the body, but also, recognizing that things are alive with intelligence, we may learn how to govern them by the higher activity of our own. Thus, we may demonstrate or realize prosperity, or the reverse, for poverty comes in the same way. The greater mind, being impersonal and creative, and acting upon the image or impress of prosperity, or poverty, of joy or sorrow, as the case may be, produces according to our faith. The great creative mind is like a mirror. It will reflect back to us, created, just what we face it with. Some of us would be very glad if the glass would reflect back a more flattering face than the one we give it. With an ordinary mirror, this is impossible. With the cosmic, it is the same. But in the case of the cosmic, we may give it a fairer idea of what we want. In other words, we can conceive the perfect plan, and it will body it forth in living flesh and tissue. This would be literally true even of our faces. I have known of people using this law to beautify the continents. I said so to a class at one time and declared that while this was not a beauty parlour, yet it could do the work of one. I said, anyone can use the law and become beautiful. One woman raised her hand. How long would it take? She asked. I looked at her and did not answer. I did not know. Nevertheless, this should not be considered merely a joke. Whatever concept of the beautiful you may have will ultimately be bodied forth in the face and form if you so decree. Every face is a reflex of the thought life behind it, and a good psychologist can get a very straight idea of the thought life by even a casual glance at the features in which it is registered. Our bodies are the aggregate of our thinking passed into form. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. You cannot sow onion seeds and reap a bouquet of sweet peas. Neither do men gather figs of thorns nor grapes of thistles, said Jesus, who knew, according to your faith, be it unto you. Faith is an attitude of mind. It is the image of expectancy you assume toward the law. According to its kind, the law gives back to you. If you expect to be cheated, you will be cheated. If you expect honesty, you will find it. The man who runs around with a chip on his shoulder will meet someone on every corner. We get in this world a return in kind. It is on this basis that our destiny is determined by our attitudes of mind. He who faces the world with good cheer and a smile will see the world smile back, but he who faces it with a grouch will hear its growl. The law is inexorable. Sooner or later, it pays us back in kind. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Of it, Jesus said, "Not one jot or one tittle shall pass away until all be fulfilled." In even the smallest matters, it works with precision. What seeds of discord some are now sowing. Sowing to the wind, they reap the whirlwind. How many are cursing themselves and others? We hear some say on rising, "I suppose I will lose money today. I fear ruin for my business. Probably the rheumatism will bother me today again. It's damp. I expect people won't understand me if I do this, even if it is right." And the thing we greatly fear comes upon us. Why? Because we attract it. We have already damned ourselves by expecting it. That was our word to the law, and it becomes flesh and dwells among us. Our word is our image or the seed we sow. If we sow words and thoughts of inharmony, we must reap discord, as Jesus said in explaining the parable. The seed is the word. It falls into the soil or divine creative mind, and it grows, we know not how. How choice then must we be of our words? The master metaphysician said, "By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." We must choose wisely our words or attitudes of mind. We are told by the poet, "Give love, and love to your life will flow, a strength in your utmost need. Have faith, and 1,000 hearts will show their faith in your word and deed. For life is the mirror of king and slave. 'Tis just what you are and do. Then give to the world the best you have, and the best will come back to you." The law is a mirror. Choose wisely the image of thought you give to it.